All right, let's move on to Microsoft. Now, we had a lot of questions from our listeners, and there's a theme, a central theme surrounding a lot of these questions. And basically, it's all about the Xbox brand dying. At LV Will 24 writes in and says, how will the Scorpio possibly be successful with the Xbox brand slowly killing itself with a lack of exclusives? Crackdown isn't a game changer. At Born Again 888 writes in and says, it seems like Xbox is falling further behind Sony. I'm wondering if I'll still want a Scorpio at year's end. And then at JCam2 writes in and says, Scorpio reveal, does 4K matter right now, or Xbox's lack of exclusives feel like they need to bring us something to be interested at all? Well, they're definitely not selling as many Xboxes as they are PlayStations, but I'm pretty sure it's still a successful business. And the brand seems like it's doing fine. There was just some report put out by Google where they asked teens to talk about which brands they think are cool. And the teens rated Xbox fourth, the fourth coolest brand in the world. PlayStation was seventh. And I think YouTube and Netflix and Google were like in like the, sort of the top brands. But
I think what Xbox has going for it outside of exclusives is they still have EA Access, which is, even if they didn't send Shipwreck a hard drive, a pretty damn good deal if you're, not buying games often, especially if you're new to the console. That new Xbox service, which again, if you're new to the console, is a really good thing. The games that are on there right now, I think I own all of them already. It's a lot of them were Xbox games with gold games in the past. So it actually is it's a disappointing library right now, but it's also still in beta. Yeah,
and it's not for you.
But still,
not for somebody who's buying all the games when they come out.
It's a really good buy. It's a really good thing to have if you're new to the console or someone who just isn't going to buy games that often. And also games with gold, where you get your two free games a month or whatever it is, 4 games now with the backwards compatibility games. Plus, it is backwards compatible. So I think what Xbox has going for it is a lot of features that, honestly, if they had that at launch, these questions would not be coming up.
And if it costs $400,
well, I think some of it, and I think you have to remember, like last year at some point, that we were asking the same thing kind of in the opposite direction, because Xbox was starting to catch up because they had a bunch of exclusives and Sony did not have anything then for like 6 months. Sony was struggling for exclusive games.
And Microsoft had like some crazy deals on the console. They were throwing in games, they had gift cards. I mean, you were getting these things for cheap, super cheap. And I think
I don't know how much exclusives matter for at the end of the day for this stuff. As long as you have some exclusives,
right,
and your big ones are big, I think it doesn't really matter that much to most people, because most people aren't buying all these, at least in North America I'm talking about, not worldwide. That's a different conversation. Like Sony is going to handle Xbox worldwide. That's just how it works. But in North America, a lot of these exclusives that Sony has, these third-party ones, are all these like niche Japanese games that like they're big for the video game community, but they're not like
they're not Halo.
Neo isn't selling like PlayStation 4s to many people.
No, I agree.
It's all the people who are going to be buying the Neos and the Niers and everything, which are great games. It's just it skews to make it look like PlayStation, which they do. They have more exclusives than Xbox right now, but it's not the big ones per se.
They don't have like Halos.
Right, they do, but it's
all of them are not
equal
Halos.
measure. They're an equal measure. Like they have the Uncharted's, and those are back and forth. It's just that Xbox doesn't have these third-party exclusives that PlayStation 4 currently has, which are mainly the Eastern games. which makes sense because Xbox doesn't sell in Japan. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Xbox is dead anytime soon.
No. And the reason why they are behind is still because of the $500 launch price. I honestly think that's the biggest reason.
Oh, they killed themselves at launch. I mean, there's no getting around it.
Thanks, Dan.
The damage they did to themselves at launch was pretty staggering.
Yeah.
It was a staggering misstep that they'll probably teach kids about in college courses and business schools. And
It was
if
a
they're not
double misstep,
already.
right? It was the Connect and the always online
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
portion.
Yeah,
Like,
it was like this weird combination of, and it sometimes marketing screws up, and sometimes your product team screws up. These are things that happen in businesses. It is very rare when both the marketing team and the product team screw up, and that's what happened at the Xbox launch. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that they had that always online messaging, which was very poorly sent out and received, and were including a wholly unnecessary piece of expensive hardware in every box.
That's going to drive the price up. Don't you think? I was thinking actually this week when I went to stream some PlayStation stuff, instead of putting in the Kinect with that Xbox, what if they just put in a regular camera, like basically the equivalent of like the PlayStation camera, and include that with a microphone built in? It's not going to have motion, all those that connect motion stuff.
Like a $20 camera?
Like a
with
$20
mic?
Exactly. So like out of the box, you could stream. Well, I guess it didn't probably launch with the Twitch stuff. But
They didn't even need to do that much. What they needed to do is make it an Echo.
Sure, they could have done a lot of things, but
I mean, in hindsight, it should have been an Echo. It should have been just something that works on voice commands, that's inexpensive, no camera that you could shout. Because the voice controls on the Xbox, I still use.
Mm-hmm.
And it it doesn't work great anymore. I think with every update, I've found with every update, the voice commands work worse and worse every time. But when they work, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when your kids can yell at the TV to put on Cartoon Network, and it puts on Cartoon Network. I know, Cheapy loves his smart house. It kind of makes your TV seem like a Jetsons TV when you can yell at it to turn on and to turn off, to go to certain channels and to go to certain apps. And if that's what they sold at launch, at a price,
that's what they were trying to. They were trying to sell that at launch,
but they
didn't need the motion control stuff.
But they
and that's
put
what
it in a
led
piece
the
of
price up.
hardware that was unnecessary. If it wasn't,
this
at
is really
that
easy to say that in
expense.
hindsight when they were coming off.
Totally.
When
Don't
they were
get me
coming off the
wrong.
Connect being a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
In hindsight, it's very easy to play couch quarterback on this situation.
Right, to look at that Connect and go, that's a problem right there.
Well, it was
we
not-
should not do that Connect.
It was the price that was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they had a similar piece of hardware, like Cheapy said, that didn't increase the price, that they could sell it at that same price as the PlayStation 4, but have this added functionality that didn't detract from, it was this, they were killed. They were killed with the messaging. They were killed with the, it's not going to have as good as graphics as the PlayStation 4 because of that Connect.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's amazing that it's this close, to be honest, that the sales numbers are this close. They could have really shot themselves in the foot.
worse.
A lot of this stuff I think is cyclic. I mean, you're going to have these companies get on top, and then the other ones are going to react, and
Someone's going to fuck up.
right. That's the beauty of having like multiple companies competing for this.
PlayStation
And
fucked
this
up.
this isn't unique to just the video game industry. Just ask the people at Pepsi.
Right. Mistakes were made.
Exactly.
It does happen everywhere.